Hello, everybody. Welcome to our noon on Wednesday weekly podcast. It's Frank Dippold here from Velocity of Money. And I'm going to start with this. Whatever we don't hate, we tolerate. So that's from my boy, Ed Milet, who I listen to a lot of his podcasts. Think about that for a second. Whatever we don't hate, we tolerate. I'm 10 pounds overweight or 20 pounds overweight, or my bank account's okay. I have a decent relationship with my kids, my wife, things like that. But when we say to ourselves, I hate the fact that I'm not set up for retirement, or I hate the fact that I don't have a deep enough relationship with my wife or my kids, then we do something to make changes. So in this case, I want to equate this to real estate and the world that we live in, or I want to equate this to our retirement. So when you come to one of my seminars, whether it be in person or virtual, we discuss what's going to happen 20, 30 years from now with a 401k that we put $600 a month into our whole lives. And then we take that number and we do the math on what it's going to look like in retirement. It could be anywhere from $10,000 a year to $50,000 a year, depending on how much money you have in the 401k. But when I then equate that to real estate and I say, let me show you how to buy 3 properties, it makes a huge difference because those 3 properties can give you $12,000 to $15,000 a month in cash flow when they're paid off. So for anybody that hasn't seen any of my material, I love saying the slogan, use the bank's money to buy the property, use the tenant's money to pay off the property. And that's what we show people how to do. So let's bring it back to the original quote. Whatever we don't hate, we end up tolerating. If we're not on the right path financially, and we're sort of just kind of like paying our bills, going through the motions, life's passing us by, then we're not doing something that's going to allow us to have a good retirement, to have $12,000 to $15,000 a month in cash flow. So here's what I'm here to say. So excited. We've launched our coaching program. We do personal coaching one-on-one with me. We do group coaching where we have just offered scholarships to some of our realtor community to be in the group coaching. And that group coaching is up to 20 people in the group. There's going to be 5 realtor scholarships. I only actually have 2 realtor scholarships left because it's not just about putting realtors in the group to learn about Velocity Money. It's putting realtors in the group that want to learn, have the acumen to get the clients and then help them buy 3 properties or more. So when we coach the students, what happens is the students now will be very educated on Velocity Money, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, how it's going to affect their lives. And the realtors are going to have to understand exactly all the mechanics of what I teach so that, we don't want the students to know more than the realtors. We want both parties equal in their effort to go buy properties together. Realtors also can use this to help themselves with their own retirement. Let's face it, we all need 3 or more properties. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. We have 3 spots left, I believe, for students. And in order to fill those students, the group coaching is going to start early May. In order to fill those students, I'm actually going to give a 20% discount off of the group coaching classes. So anybody that's interested in that, ping me. We'll leave my voicemail, my email at the end of this podcast. Ping me to discuss how it works, how much you'll learn, what you'll turn into, what the cost is, and how it can affect not only your life, but your family's lives, generation after generation after generation. We are in the midst of our national launch. Our national launch is going to teach up to 3 or 4 groups per quarter of 20 people. We are also going to have 10 people per quarter that I coach. And by June 15th, we'll have our video coaching launched where people could do the video coaching. It's the least expensive option. It's not as intimate. I still like it, but I don't think it's as good as the group coaching or the one-on-one coaching. So that's enough about the coaching. I'm going to talk to you today also about interest rates and the bond market. Let me explain what Fannie Mae came out with about 3 weeks ago. Fannie Mae came out with something that said they only wanted second homes and investment properties to be 7%, 7% of their total portfolio that they buy from the lenders. So it could be the Fannie Freddie direct lenders sell to Fannie or Freddie, and also the bond market trades those notes. That's the buying and selling of the mortgage-backed security pools. So say you take a company that does $1 billion in loans, only 7% of those loans could be second homes and investment properties. That's bad. I'm going to hopefully shine a little bit of positive light on at the end, but let me just kind of go down this path. Primary residences and second homes, since I've been in the business since the year 2001, have always been the same interest rate. So if I could give somebody 2 3/4 on a primary, they go buy a condo in Florida as their second home, same rate. That just changed. Now, second homes and investment properties are a worse rate. Now, if you've ever seen any of my podcasts before, the way I explain the bond market is the following. It's all about the buying and the selling of the mortgage-backed security pools and the value that that paper has to the end investor. The investor could be a hedge fund. The investor could be a big aggregator, a big bank that buys bulk paper and trades the notes. There's a bunch of different groups and organizations that buy this paper. And what happens is they rate the paper based on performance and based on the giant chart, right, where we look at 700 credit score, primary residence, 10% down. That performs at X% of the total portfolio. Then they'll take a 680 credit score and do the same thing. Then they'll take an 800 credit score and do the same thing. Then they'll take FHA paper at 3.5% down with a 640 credit score, and they'll rate the performance on those loans and score them based on that performance. And they either bid up or bid down on that paper in conjunction with historical performance. So what ends up happening is, like investment loans, for example, if you go buy a 3-family investment property, not only does Fannie Mae impose hits for that, there might be a 3-point or 2.5-point hit, not on rate, but on what they are willing to buy the paper for. But then the bond market looks at this and goes, oh man, we don't really like this. And we're going to, take away some of the coupon, which takes away some of the premium on sale. So that, coupled with the fact that Fannie and Freddie impose hits for investment property, makes it a tough deal. And then there's the conversation about inverted yield curve, which is how those coupons are affected by the dynamics that I just mentioned. So why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this because now that has started to affect second homes because of what Fannie and Freddie just came out with, saying they would only receive 7% of them for second homes and investment properties. The good news is rates are still tremendous, but the second homes and the investment properties, the bond market's not liking them right now. So they're a 0.5 to 3/4 point worse than they were even 30 days ago. So just to kind of give you a perspective, if rates are at 3%, 3.125%, whatever, the APR might be 3.3. The second homes were the same. The investment properties then would have been around 4, and now they might be more like 4.5. But the other problem with what they call the inverted yield curve is that we can't even make enough money to do the deal anymore. You don't care about what we make, but we have to be able to sell the loan. So what ends up happening is we might have to charge a point or two in order to just get you to a reasonable rate that you can live with. So if an investor right now ends up getting an investment property at 4% or 4.5% or 5%, then you go back to the yield that I teach people, cash on cash, cash flow, and what makes sense on it. I don't care if the rate's 8%. if I'm making a 31% yield on the property, guess what? It's a wonderful piece of real estate. So the bad news is that Fannie Freddie came out with this 7% thing, which is bad. The good news is that we teach yield, and we teach you that no matter what interest rate, yield might work. Now, at 8%, the yield might not work. Rates are not at 8%, so you don't have anything to worry about. But at 4%, it's still an amazing, amazing investment property. Just to put things in perspective, I never really got anybody less than 4.5 or 4.25 on an investment property until this year. And this year, they were in the low to mid threes. It was wonderful, even on investment, which is incredible, like ridiculous. But they're not that bad right now. My coaching program shows people how to calculate yield properly so that if the property has the proper cash flow, then you buy the property, right? And remember, like, yield is your down payment divided by your cash flow. So, and then we're using the tenant's money to pay off our property. There's all sorts of things also that I show people how to buy the property, live in the property, and eventually turn it into a rental. That's the main premise of our program. But on investment properties and second home, rates have gotten worse. Now, what has gone on for the last couple of years, really since 2008-9, when the government took over for Fannie and Freddie. So they used to be quasi-government agencies. Now they're actually full government agencies, because Fannie and Freddie after 2008 would have gone bankrupt, but the government took over. So now all three regulatory bodies are owned by the government: Fannie, Freddie, FHA. So what happens is, for years since 2008, they've been trying to not write as much paper in America, have more hedge fund types, other countries that create investing groups to invest in American paper, because American real estate has value, especially after 08, 09, when the value started going back up. The collateral then had a foundation, right? Again, because we lost some of that foundation with the crash. And so people want to buy the paper. Fannie and Freddie for years has been saying, we want to get rid of the, all the loans we write, and we want a small percentage of them to go hedge funds and other places. And that was happening. There was what they called non-QM lenders. There was what they called business bank statement loans. It was loosening up a bit, and then COVID happened. When COVID happened, fear came in on what was going to happen in the bond market, what was going to happen in the economy, what was going to happen in real estate, and the non-QM lenders pulled back. Why? Because the investors that were investing with them pulled back. So that stuff really hasn't come back yet. There are a bunch of non-QM lenders out there that are doing more flexible stuff. So that's coming back, and we feel good about that, but not to the extent that it was pre-COVID. So this lends itself to more investors potentially investing in investment properties and second home that are not Fannie Freddie. I think that's going to take some time. I think that'll take 1, 2, 3 years to lighten up. Now, the question is, will Fannie and Freddie lighten up on that? Because my opinion is that they're nervous, because if somebody loses their job because of COVID or an unstable market or economy, the first thing that they stop paying on if they don't have the money is a second home or investment property. We would hope that the tenants would pay on the investment property, but then the government opened their mouth and was like, oh, if you're a renter, you don't have to pay if you lost your job. Well, that's a nice thing to say if you're the government, but the investor who maybe doesn't have a ton of reserves, that investor got hurt. So A, we teach people, we want you to have some reserves when you have an investment property. B, it might lend itself to more properties becoming available on the market, because some people have to sell. And C, we will look for whether Fannie and Freddie is going to lighten up on that as their calculations and the performance of the loans start to improve. So they're forecasting that we're going to see a digression in loan performance on second homes and investment properties. That's why they only want a certain percentage, because they're trying to limit how many of them they offer. But I'm like, you kind of started that problem 10 months ago or a year ago when, actually 13 months ago already, where you're like, the government was like, oh, it's okay, go into forbearance, no problem. The servicer's going to like just let you not make payments. But they didn't say that that the loan would either be due immediately within 90 days, or if it was tacked on to the end of the loan, it had to be seen as a loan modification. And then when we went to refi people, they had to pay off the forbearance prior to refinancing anyway. So they got hurt. And then they opened their mouth where they told the tenants they didn't have to pay, and that hurt the investor. So now they're saying, well, we don't like the performance. So because we don't like the performance, we're going to limit how much we lend. Well, you created that problem in the beginning. So I'm here to say that if you're an investor, we can help you through these sort of murky waters. If you're a first-time home buyer or you already own a single family or a condo, we can help you get investment properties. We can help you get owner-occupied properties also based on the right premise. Okay? Now, it also may lend itself to more hard money for the real estate investor who is flip-minded. Okay? I'm not a big flip guy, but I teach people how to start out with the flip mentality, right? And then reverse engineer what they call yield, which shows them whether they should sell the property or stay in the property. And I will show them the reverse engineer on the yield, give them a loan after hard money that they can live with a very good interest rate to get the right cash flow. So you don't necessarily need to go and put 20, 25% down off the bat. You could potentially borrow hard money. We could refi you out after you fix up the property, and we could turn it into a rental. So there's so many things. The problem with America is not enough people are retirement minded. Not enough people know how to begin in real estate. And that's what we do. We show you not only how to begin in real estate, but how to use real estate towards retirement. And that little sort of speech I gave you on the bond market, we follow every day. People are like, what do you think about interest rates in 3 months? Like, I have no idea. I really don't. If I did, I'd have a lot more money than I do. But what I do know is we subscribe to a service, Barry Habib's company, which is an awesome, awesome organization that shows us what's going on in the bond market every single day. And not only every single day, but 3 days a week. And he gives us updates every day. So as mortgage professionals and as Velocity of Money coaching seminars, we advise people on the short term. Now, Barry does a great job of explaining to us what's going to happen on the long term. But long term is a couple weeks, 2 weeks, So for me, it's a little bit more like, hey, I know where they're at now. This is what we can get you. And I don't know exactly where they're going to be in 4 months. We all believe rates are going to remain good. They are not as good as they were 60 days ago. They're still amazing. They're still in the bottom of the 10% of the lowest it's ever been. And moving forward, we'll be able to help people. Will it be tricky for investors? Yeah, but it's always sort of tricky for investors because most investors don't even know how to fill out their Schedule E properly. Their accountant writes off repairs instead of other things. And we advise on all things real estate. So $1 million worth of real estate, pay it off in 20 years or less, retire with $12,000 to $15,000 a month in cash flow. Our coaching is going on right now. I'm turning 10,000 people in the next 5 years into real estate millionaires. It's not that hard. It's very mechanical. You just have to follow the plan. The first thing you have to do is get in touch with me and talk about coaching. So I think I memorized it now. Jasmine will probably put it on the screen in a second. I think it's, yep, there she goes. She's faster than me. hello@thevelocityofmoney.com to discuss if you're a realtor and you want scholarship, if you're a client and you want a 20% discount. There is no doubt in my mind, when you spend time with me and my organization, not only will you be educated and you'll be ready to buy, but you'll also be super fired up because you'll see the end game in mind. When you have the end game in mind and you go, wow, I'm going to have $1 million to $2 million in real estate in 20 years or less. I'm going to have $12,000 to $15,000 a month of cash flow. That's if I buy 3 properties. If I buy more, I'm certainly going to have more. And I'm really excited about my future. Once you do that, not only are you excited about your future, but then you're excited about your children's future and their children's future, because we show how to create generational wealth. So brief today, nobody interviewing because I just wanted to speak to you guys. I wanted to talk to investment-minded people. I want to talk to all the first-time homebuyers. I will show you a strategy that I created that will have you buying properties, living in them, turning them into rentals eventually, buying another property. It's so great. It's helping so many people. We're so excited about all of that. So hit me up at that email address. Hit me up on Facebook or any of the social media platforms that we're on. And God bless everybody. Have a wonderful day. Call me with any questions. Talk to y'all soon.